What's up, guys? This is Michael with Ruffstuff, and before you check out our new podcast, I just wanted to give you a little heads up on our Labor Day sale going on right now. All of our products are currently 17% off. Also, the first 100 orders over $250 each day will receive a special mystery gift, and those change every single day. Also, the sale ends September 2nd at midnight, so make sure you grab everything you need before then. Thanks again for checking out our podcast, and I hope you enjoy.
Hey guys, this is Garrett here with the Rough Stuff podcast number 2. We have Zach and Mallory back on.
Howdy.
Hey. So today our guest is Stuart Nelson with Point West Insurance. Hey, Stuart.
How you doing?
Good. So Stuart is not just our killer, awesome insurance agent. He also is a avid off-roader.
Yes, I am.
And a Rough Stuff customer. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about how you got into off-road.
I got into off-road with a friend that invited me to go to a four-wheel drive event down in Southern California called Tierra del Sol. And he lived down in San Diego, had a Jeep, asked me to come down. Never been to a four-wheel drive event before. Always been kind of a dirt biker and that type of thing. Went down there, had a blast, loved it, and kind of got bit by the bug at that point. And it was probably a couple years later that I bought my vehicle, my first vehicle that I started to.
Which is what?
A 1974 Ford Bronco.
That was your first one?
Gen 1. Yeah, that's the first one. First one I actually owned.
When was that Tierra del Sol event that you went to?
So that would have been, I think I've had the Bronco for 13 years now.
I was going to say, was that Bronco like brand new or what?
No old man jokes, Garrett. But no old man jokes. Take it easy. But I want to say that was probably in like 2007.
Cool.
Yeah.
We've been to Tierra del Sol a few times. I think we went maybe right around when I started.
Yeah, I think we did the repair pit down there twice, I think.
2011,
way
2012.
That's
right,
that's when Jason
Almost went to Mexico.
By accident.
What was it?
Because Dan was giving directions. Dan was giving directions off of like, who knows?
Off of like a paper map.
Yeah, and they ended up at the border.
And he always insisted on what was it? The MapQuest, which was like just so outdated.
But he didn't want the step-by-step directions of MapQuest. He just wanted the map.
Yeah.
Like the printed out map. And he was like, "Oh, I got it." Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about your Bronco build. Did you get it stock, and how did you acquire it, and what products do you have on it now?
All right. So when I got it, it was bone stock, kind of beat up a little bit. And my friend told me when I was buying it, he went with me, the guy that had the Jeep, he was up here. I bought it up from a guy up in Grass Valley. And we went up to look at it. We met him down the hill a little bit. And so he looked at it, and I said, okay, I think I'm going to buy this thing. My friend looked at me and goes, I hope you got 4 jack stands. And I said, well, why? He goes, that thing's a piece of junk. And but he was a Jeep guy. He wasn't really into it. So I bought it, brought it home. It was like I said, bone stock, orange, with a white top, kind of that classic 70s.
So you kept some of the original colors.
Yeah, I still got the original paint on it, although I don't want to, but, all the money's gone.
That's the original paint?
That's the original. Well, most of it.
I didn't know that.
I think it had a few accidents and they fixed a few things, but yeah, most of it's original, and so I just started going from there. And as with every guy that builds or gal that builds a rig, you kind of go mellow at first, and you're like, oh, I got to step it up, and so then you're always redoing stuff. So over the years, it's just morphed in from starting with 33-inch tires and now with 37s. And
why did you go with the Bronco?
I just liked the Bronco. I always wanted one when I was a kid and couldn't have one. And a friend of mine had one already, and I liked it. Although his was not really a rock crawler type rig. It was more of a dirt road camping type rig. But I liked the body. I liked the look of it. And it was different than a Jeep,
Yeah.
So
Definitely, unique.
Yeah.
More unique. So how we actually met you is kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we were using someone through our payroll provider for workers' comp insurance. And I thought, I want to use someone really local. So I got on Yelp and I just looked up 4 or 5 local companies. I made a bunch of calls. Stuart called me back and was like, I know Rough Stuff. I'm a customer of Rough Stuff. And I think you already had our axle housings.
No, that was later.
Was that later?
That was later.
Once you got the deal.
Yeah.
Then
So I was on the inside track. That's when I bought the big
But
ticket
you were running some of our products.
Yeah.
And you definitely knew who we were. And I was like, man, this is great because
That's the first red flag.
I think you actually drove it out here that first time we met to come meet with us.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, and I
needed to lend some credibility to myself.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what was so crucial for me was that you understood our business as already being a customer, and you really helped sort of bridge that gap between us and the insurance providers of explaining what we do when it comes to general liability and workers' comp. They see that we're a manufacturer and they just want to slam us with the highest rates.
Right.
And they just make you out to be the most dangerous, high risk companies. And so having you understand what we do, understand our products, understand our industry, even getting products insurance, that's a really difficult one.
Yeah.
You help bridge that gap. So I'm really grateful.
I'm grateful too because
those axle housings.
Well, the discount's nice. The relationship's great for me though because Rough Stuff is probably, and hopefully none of my other clients hear this, but it's like my favorite account to work on because I feel connected to it because I love wheeling. I like working on my own rig and fabricating. It's it's kind of my hobby. So for me, it was melding not only what I do professionally, but being able to bring that and meld it with my hobby, which is great because I do understand what you guys do. And I also understand how insurance companies look at things and what the underwriters look for, how they think. And sometimes I can talk them down off the ledge because they look at your product. They're like, holy cow, this, and they freak out because they don't understand the product. Yeah. But because I have an understanding of the product and what you do and what it's used for, it enables me to explain it better in a way they can understand.
Totally.
So
thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your relationship with Rubicon Trail Foundation and also the Adopt a Trail program. So can you explain to us how you got into connections with RTF and what Adopt a Trail is?
Yeah. So the Adopt a Trail is separate from the RTF. Love the RTF. It's a great organization, but they kind of did it in conjunction with El Dorado County. El Dorado County does the Adopt a Trail program for the Rubicon Trail. Even though the trail crosses over into Placer County, part of the trails in both counties, El Dorado County has lead on that because the majority of the trail is in their jurisdiction. So they put together this Adopt a Trail program, and my friend who was on the RTF board, Cole Sweet, there you go, there's your shout out, Cole. He said, hey, they're doing this. And I said, oh, we got to get involved because he and I go on the Jamboree every year. We like to use the trail other times of the year. And, we just get tired of the trail closures and things. That's a historic trail. I mean, it's known all over the world. There's people that come here from foreign countries and they ship their vehicles over just to do the trail one time on their bucket list. So I was all in. I'm like, hey, let's go to the meeting. So we ended up adopting a section of the trail, and they divided them up, El Dorado County at the meeting, and they said, okay, in these different groups. We didn't really have a group. It was just me and him and a couple of guys that would always go on the trail with us. So I didn't have an official club. Most of the other people that adopted a section were a club or a business, something like that, where they had a little more firepower from a manpower point of view, I guess you'd say. And so that's how I got involved. I just wanted to volunteer, just wanted to make sure that the trail was adopted and that the work was done. So we did it for several years, but my struggle was some of the guys that I had recruited ended up either selling their rigs, because they started having babies or, and their priorities shifted and they weren't going. And it ended up being like 3 of us every time. It was a lot of work for 3 guys.
Yeah.
That'll take out of you.
You have to kind of map out what area you want. And then what do you do? Put signs, carve it out. How does that work?
Yeah, they ask you to go up usually a minimum twice a year and you do a trail evaluation on just erosion and because they're trying to keep the trail in good repair.
Right.
And El Dorado County, and I think they used like Army Corps of Engineers or somebody, but basically they did all these They put rock channels in for water crossings when the runoff happens. So as you're driving your rig across the trail, it's not eroding that by driving through that stream of water that's probably happening more so in the spring. And then they have these, they're called REDs, or rock energy dissipators, that basically catch any sediment that washes down off the trail from all the runoff from the winter snows. And so you have to go in there and you measure the sediment to see how much sediment you're losing. You record that, and then you clean it out, and then you turn that report in. And they ask you to do it in the spring and then once more right before winter. And then they monitor what's going on with the trail. And then if any of these rock energy dissipators, or mostly like the little water crossings that they put like cobble liners in them, if they're eroding or coming apart, you tell them, and then they'll get someone up there and they'll get a load of rock and they'll get it fixed.
So basically preservation and
preservation,
putting back what sometimes off-roading takes away.
Yep.
Things like
and
that.
trying to minimize the impact on the environment, but still allowing users to enjoy the trail.
Especially when it comes to that creek, I'm sure a lot of, wildlife relies on that body of water and things like that.
Right. So it's all about just respecting the trail and keeping it in good repair so that it stays open and people can use it and enjoy it, but you're not really damaging the environment through your use.
We break for squirrels. Absolutely.
Exactly. And chipmunks up there.
Yeah.
It's one of the interesting things that like a lot of people seem to have so many questions on is like, why are you repairing an off-road wheeling trail? But at the end of the day, if we don't maintain it to a point of sustainability, it'll get close.
Right.
And we can't let that happen. And nobody ever seems to like put two and two together. It's they think, what are you going to do? Go pave it? Like, you're going to go work on the Rubicon? How does that work? But they don't realize that, like, we don't take these little times, these little steps, and go put the effort of just preservation of what's already there, we're just not going to get the opportunity to go have fun out there.
Right.
It's kind of interesting how a lot of people don't put two and two together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't see that side of it, because it's really important to be able to keep these trails open and keep these public lands public. Absolutely. And not, gated off every other year, every 4 years.
And you got to have people to monitor that, because, 99% of the people do respect the trail and take care of it, but there's always a few people that, abuse anything, and
that 1% can do some damage.
Right. So you follow up behind them and you make sure that it's fixed and repaired so that it can continue on.
That's awesome. So Ruffstuff is going to be adopting a trail, correct?
Yes. So that was the purpose of my last statement, that I couldn't keep up with the work. So I talked with Garrett here at Ruffstuff and said, hey, I can't keep doing on this, trail maintenance.
Yeah.
I don't have the firepower, but, Ruffstuff has a bunch of employees and they all like to wheel. Most of them have rigs or know somebody that does. That's why they like working here, right? It's in their wheelhouse too, of what they enjoy in their free time. And I thought, what a great opportunity, get Ruffstuff to take my section of the trail, and then I can help out still and be involved. But now we've got a little more firepower or manpower to help out with that.
Yep.
So.
And I was actually hoping that we could maybe do like a wheeling trip, but not only with the company, but with customers.
Yeah, invite
have
customers.
them come up, and whether they help out or not, that'd be cool. But just to come hang out, we'll probably do like one night camping, and the next day would be work.
Yeah.
But go wheel or work or do whatever.
Yeah.
So
we might even just camp out. If you're listening and hearing this, being like, I want to go wheel with the Ruffstuff crew and Stuart. We'll probably just camp out at Loon Lake, because we got a lot of employees that got a daily driver, and that's about it. They don't have anything to take in. So
tell me a little bit about some of your favorite places to wheel.
Well, I definitely like the Fordyce Trail. That's a fun trail. Pretty challenging. But favorite places is Rubicon or Fordyce. Hands down, just because I love the Tahoe Forest. I love the smell up there. It's so nice, in the summertime. You hear the wind whistling through the pines and you smell the pines, and it's just nice to be up there. The Tierra del Sol down there in the desert, that's definitely a fun trip. It's totally different than the Rubicon. But, that was always fun, cruising through the washouts down there in the desert.
You ever been to Moab?
I haven't been to Moab yet. That's on the bucket list, though.
Yeah.
I've been invited a few times. It just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place for sure. Yeah.
I was actually wondering earlier, do the same sort of preservation standards for Rubicon apply to Moab? Because I know there's not nearly as much, I don't know, like greenery, or is there? Because it mostly looks like rocks,
Yeah, it's
right?
mostly,
So how would you repair that as opposed to?
I know they do some trail marker repairs because it's super popular, just like the Rubicon, and a lot of people can take less built vehicles, so you get a lot of people that don't know kind of the culture side of it, of respecting things or beating things up. A lot of people doing graffiti tags, things like that, or just destroying trail markers. So, I mean, I've heard about people in a rented SUV, sometimes from other countries on a bucket list trip, getting way lost in the middle of nowhere because trail marker was down or something was spun the other way, some kid messing around, whatever. But it's a little different than what we have out here, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That was crossing my mind when we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, there's always going to be something to that nature because not everyone is in the wheeling. Like there's hikers and stuff out there too, and so the hikers might see a lot of the, you know, even the tire marks on the rocks as an issue, and so the more out of hand that gets, the more like off trail that gets, it could become a bigger issue. So I think I guarantee there's going to be stuff like that for
there's definitely
every trail.
like a crew out there.
I would think so.
Yeah. Interesting. So what do you like to do when you're not wheeling? Not wheeling and dealing.
Oh boy, sleep.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's overrated.
Recovery.
But recovery. But no, you know, I really like doing things with my hands, so I love, you know, working on my vehicle. And actually, I bought myself another vehicle, totally different, but I'm restoring a '69 Mustang Mach 1 Fastback. But so totally different than the Bronco, but the Bronco's, you know, kind of there already, other than paint.
And you got the JK too, right?
I do have the two-door JK, and
I forgot you had that.
yeah. So slowly building that, you know, a little bit as a backup vehicle. Everybody needs two fold, right?
Yeah, the Mustang would be cool.
Yeah, but the Mustang, I'm doing that, and I'm doing basically a similar thing that I did with the Bronco. With the Bronco, I put in a 5 liter out of a '91 Mustang, so fuel injection, because obviously off-roading definitely need fuel injection, and so I did that first, and that made a huge difference. And then a few years later, I ended up doing an overdrive transmission in it.
Game changer.
And that was a game changer. I mean, yeah, I can cruise on the freeway at 80 miles an hour, you know, in this old rig. People are like, you know, they look at it and they can't believe that you're just kind of cruising along.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. But so I'm doing the same thing with the Mustang, and I'm rest modding that too. And I'm putting I'm going to get a Coyote crate motor from Ford Performance and plug that in. So there's a few of them out there already, but you don't see very many yet, even though the crate motor's been out for several years, and it's not an easy modification. So that'll be pretty exciting when that thing fires up within the next.
And you're kind of
10 months.
taking tech from a long time ago and putting a heart from right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So that should be a fun little project.
How long have you been doing that? You said.
I'm embarrassed to say.
I was going to say 10 months.
Because I thought I'd be driving it by now. It's always longer than you think. But, you know, when I got it, you know, I didn't do the body and paint on it. You know, I needed a shop that knew what they were doing to do it. Even though I wanted to do it, I just don't have enough time. And so I found a local shop, but ironically enough, at least in this Northern California, like Sacramento area, there's not as many places that do that type of work, and so they're all busy. And it took me by the time I found them, I bought the vehicle, and it was 3 months before I actually found somebody that would do it for a decent price. Everybody else was more expensive. And then it took 9 months to get into a shop because he just had that many vehicles, you know.
Wow.
9 months. Wow.
Yeah, these aren't big shops. You know why? Because everybody in the body shop business, they don't really want to get in the restoration.
Yeah.
Because they make way more money doing collision repair for the insurance companies because the vehicles are in and out.
Yeah.
When you do a restoration, my car was in his shop for a year, and I completely stripped it down to the bare body at my house. Didn't have wheels on or anything. I had to actually weld a cart to put it on there, dropped it off at the sandblaster, had the whole body sandblasted, then took it to the guy to do the body and paint. And it still took him a year to cut out the rust panels, replace, you know, trunk floor, that time, the quarter panel, get everything, you know, gapped and lined up, and then strip the car apart, and then sand it and paint it. And you got weather issues. You don't want to. You can paint in the winter, but obviously you need a booth that's heated and things like that. And some of these shops don't have that.
Yeah.
And so it gets to be a long process.
So we're talking years.
So basically it was darn near a year before I got it in the body shop. Then it was in there for a year, and now I've had it back for 9 months, and I'm slowly putting it back together because not paying him to put it back together. I didn't want to get a turnkey. I always would have gone to Barrett Jackson or something and bought one that was done. Mm-hmm. I want to build it myself.
That's part of the fun of the project and the pride of, the pride of never finishing it.
Yeah.
Did you know how to weld before you bought the Bronco?
I did. I took welding in high school.
Yeah.
So
how long ago was that?
Okay. So next question. No. Learned how to weld in high school. These old stick welders so I had a little experience. I wasn't a very good welder, and had to redo it a few times.
So after you bought it, that's when it kind of became a necessity to start.
Yeah, okay. And then I had a small little Lincoln, I think it was SP100.
Oh,
wire
just the 110
feed,
ones?
Flux core only. Couldn't even gas it, and so I was doing a little bit of that. You can't really do any good structural welding like suspension or serious fabrication on that. So then I bought a little bit larger welder that could do that.
It's just a lot more passes.
Several passes.
Like when I used to do the railings and stuff, that's what we do out in the field.
Yeah.
And we'd do like these huge gate hinges.
Yeah.
It was just multiple like uphill passes and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. I did that on my gate at the house.
Can't weld good, weld a lot.
Yeah. Or if it's ugly, just weld over it again.
What mods do you have on your Bronco?
Oh, what isn't modded? So I kind of talked about the engine, the transmission. I got an Atlas transfer case. Got the Ruffstuff Fab 9 in the back. Oh, yeah. And that was kind of cool because it was custom width. So I did, I was running wheel spacers before that to get a little extra, stance on it. So I was able to take those off, just do about 3 inches over on the overall width of the axle over stock. So that was nice to get the custom axle because then you can do stuff like that and you can eliminate those wheel spacers, which are, failure point technically.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so did that with, chromoly axles, got ARB lockers front and rear.
Is it still semi-float in the rear?
Yeah. And then the front axle is stock Dana 44, but it has Dutchman chromoly axles in the front there. Got an ARB locker up front.
You have our diff cover on the front.
Ruffstuff diff cover, powder coated, nice bright red with the RSS logo on it.
It was in our Pomona Off-Road Expo booth last year, right?
Yeah.
We'll have to put a picture up.
Yeah,
of
a
that.
lot of people. If you were at Pomona last year and you came in through, what was that, the west gate?
Just the very front gate.
The very front gate. Yeah, you definitely saw it.
Just to the right.
It's a showstopper.
It's a showstopper. Mm-hmm. And we always try to have some cool vehicles down there. But old iron is hard to beat. That's
totally.
For sure.
Totally.
Race cars are cool, but
we
old
should
iron
we'll bring the Mustang next time.
It's getting a Ford 9 too.
Yeah,
what can we put on that?
I don't know. People will just stop though.
We could put a Fab 9 in the back of that.
We'll just
18-inch wide
under
tire.
the hood. You just pop the hood and there's like all kinds of rough stuff parts.
Yeah.
Actually, 4-wheel drive Mad Max Mustang.
Put a winch on the front.
Yeah.
Anything else on it?
So I got the beefy tie rods on the front and with the 1-ton ends on there, and I've got bumper fab parts. Kind of with the Bronco, a lot of your stuff is not off the shelf that you can buy, so you got to fab a lot of your own stuff. Yeah. So I used some of the bumper fab parts to make a tire carrier.
That's a really popular product of ours, and
it's great value.
Yeah, it's really cool too because you get to put together however you want.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and one of the coolest products I liked was the spring-loaded pin.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that on there for the longest time, so every time I would go out, of course, the tire carrier wants to swing back into the quarter panel, or the nice thing about the Bronco is there's a fold-down tailgate like a pickup. So then the tire carrier, I'd open it far enough, open the tailgate, it would rest up against it. But then when you want to close it, you got to kind of push it back, and I had gas can carrier on it and water on there.
There's
and
muscle in this thing.
Yeah, so the thing's heavy, and so it's nice. I got that spring pin.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I just put that on maybe a year or two ago, and that thing's awesome because you just open it. You can have several different holes to lock the pin in at different spots, and it's such a simple little item, but it makes such a big difference.
Yeah,
on
it's funny how that works.
Listeners can get that product for 10% off today with code Ruffstuff Podcast.
Nice.
It's true.
Do you have any wild trail stories for us? We know you like to party.
Yeah. Well,
I've personally experienced it.
We're not going to talk about unsafe wheeling.
The Point West Insurance, or what was it?
Yeah.
The Christmas party?
Yeah, we went to their Christmas party.
Yeah. That was fun, but we weren't driving then, so that was okay. But no, I think the craziest one was when we were wheeling up in Fordyce, and we were behind a group, and I'm trying to think of the section of trail, but and sorry, I'm not like one of those guys that memorizes every section and has all the names to memory, but it was a steep climb, all rock in the front, and you kind of wait at the back, and I was waiting at the bottom for this guy to go up this, basically little granite mountain, but it's all boulders and things. So some of it's loose. And he gets to the top, and his front end, he just gassed it. He was on the skinny pedal a lot, right? This guy was hammering his vehicle. He didn't care. And he had a built rig, so I could handle it. But he hits it, and the front end pops up, and then it kind of balances there. And I'm thinking, okay, he's got to hit the gas to get it back down and keep going. And he didn't, and it rolled over backwards, and I'm at the bottom of the hill. And I got rigs behind me, and I'm like, I got to make a decision here quick. He's coming down. And I wasn't sure if he was going to make it all the way to where I was at. I felt like I was at a safe distance when I was sitting there. But when he starts rolling down the hill towards you, I was like, wow. And then, of course, worrying if he's going to be okay. And anyways, I was able to scoot out of the way, and he stopped before he got there. But that was probably the scariest time, seeing somebody roll towards you. And
it happens quick, too. It's not like you got time to, all right, everybody get out of the way.
Yeah, we watch all those videos on Instagram or YouTube, but when you're in it and experiencing it right there, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe the only thing going through your mind was your deductible.
I had plenty of insurance on the Bronco,
Yeah.
But I was more worried about my body.
And it never leaves the pavement.
Yeah.
So what kind of products do you offer at Point West Insurance, speaking of insurance?
We do the gamut of general liability, workers' comp, and, for businesses, things like that. And then we also do some home and auto. We can insure your Jeep. Mm-hmm. Definitely have. What
I like about you and Point West Insurance is you always offer a really intimate experience. You also do our health, vision and dental, and you're always willing to come out. Well, now I know why you're really willing to come out, but you're always willing to come out and even meet with one person.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that, really good customer service.
Thank you.
Always answer our calls, always answer our emails. And you just don't always get that with any kind of vendor sometimes. So I feel like it's almost becoming a lost art sometimes. Yeah. And that's the same kind of service we try to offer our customers, though we're online.
Right.
So it's really nice to see someone else who values that just as much as we do.
So what's the benefit of, or I guess if I want to insure my off-road vehicle, can you just insure anything like a RZR or does it have to be street legal?
No, it doesn't have to be street legal. We can insure RZRs.
Yeah.
Those are actually pretty easy now.
Oh, really?
Now the companies know what they are, know what they have with them.
They're not
a lot of our customers just have rock crawlers and stuff, and they might be like, why would I get it insured? Or how can I get it insured? And how much is it going to cost and stuff?
Well, when you get in an accident and you hurt the other people, that's really, really crucial.
Yeah.
That's happened. And actually, because even if it's not criminal, it could be a civil case, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can get sued by that person
and
or
you
whatever.
Want your insurance company to have your back, whether it's covering their medical costs, and it doesn't matter sometimes if they're being unsafe too. It in a court of law, it's whatever they decide.
In California.
Yeah, it's whatever the judge decides. So it's really important to cover your rock crawler.
Yeah, what states don't you insure in every state, or what do you?
So with insurance, you have to be licensed as an agent broker in the state that you're selling products. So you have to get a license in each state that you want to do business in. So right now I'm just licensed in California and Nevada. Mm-hmm. Used to be licensed in Idaho, Arizona, but did it for when I had business clients there. And and wasn't necessary. And those people are probably better served, on a day-to-day basis for, home and auto, just getting somebody local.
Totally.
But I had a client who had multiple locations, but they were based here in California, and they had locations in those states, or separate businesses there, and they wanted me to handle it. So, but going back to something that Mallory said a second ago, or maybe Garrett, you asked about it, but it was the rock crawlers that are non-street legal. So these guys that build these tube chassis buggies, similar to like a Class 4 racer or whatever, but they're taking it off-road and they're trailing it up to, say, the Rubicon Trail. That's a difficult one to insure. And yeah, you still have some liability. So, you're wheeling and there's, people gather at like,
moon rocks or something.
Moon rocks or little sloughs or, somewhere, and they're watching people and, say the rig gets away from you and you hit somebody. You could be held liable, and it's hard to get insurance on those rigs because they're not street legal. So you can't just add it to your auto insurance.
Yeah.
If you have a VIN vehicle, like a lot of the guys like the Toyota trucks because they make great wheelers when you fab them, but half the time they don't even still look like the Toyota truck anymore. They might still have the cab. If it has a VIN, then you could put it on your auto insurance. And, but of course, depending on your insurance company, you got to figure that out, but sometimes they don't, cover off-road. So, but it could be a problem if you had like a manufactured rig that you'd made yourself. Home built, and
is that something you can take care of though, or is that or is it just like a case by
I've never
case,
had anybody
or,
ask me,
really,
and so I've never really tried. But it's I think most things are possible. But it's a matter of would it be cost effective?
Yeah, so I was curious about how much that would cost.
Is there a product available? Yeah. There's some companies that specialize in we can get insurance on dirt bikes and like you said, the razors and side by sides. So a company like that might, classify it as a vehicle like that. We might be able to do it, and then you could get the liability coverage there.
I think it's definitely worth looking into and checking it out.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys put a lot of money into those rigs.
Yes.
I mean, it could easily be a $50,000 vehicle, and to not have insurance on it, if it.
Well, even like what you were saying, before the podcast, you were saying, what was it, like the bankruptcies, or based off health insurance, right?
Yeah, well, health insurance is one of the number one reasons people declare bankruptcy,
right?
Because
They get big
medical
hospital
bills.
Because of accidents and stuff. But like same thing, if you're in a rig and you get hurt, that insurance can cover you there? I mean, it'll help cover that health insurance too, or cover another person if you hit someone, like you were saying.
Yeah. That's more what I think of. Two vehicles colliding, or falling off and bumping the next vehicle, things like that, bodily injury. That stuff's really scary.
Yeah. Most of the time, if you're willing to bash your vehicle on rocks, you're probably not too worried if you back into another vehicle.
Yeah.
But
you never know about the other guy.
What I would worry more about than that, because usually, you're not looking at body damage issues as much unless you have a really nice JK or JL, you got $100,000 into it, but then you probably got insurance on it, right? Because you can insure
probably
those
a daily driver too.
Yeah, but it's the big thing is the vehicles that you can't get that on, and then you don't have physical damage. So physical damage coverage is really comp and collision, is how most people know it, and that's comprehensive. Covers things like fire, theft, vandalism. Pretty much anything collision doesn't cover. That's why they call it comprehensive. Collision is strictly for collisions. So comprehensive, I think, would be pretty important, because I think the biggest risk to any rig is fire.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you're working on these vehicles constantly. So you get a fuel line leak or some other fluid leak. Like I had, my Bronco almost burned down on me, and I wasn't even off-roading. I was just taking it out for a shakedown run, had the kids in it. And I was taking them to In-N-Out Burger, and how embarrassing. I got this classic rig. It looks so pretty and nice, and I pull into In-N-Out Burger, and all of a sudden it just goes poof. And all of a sudden all this smoke starts pouring out from under the hood just as I pull in, and front row, by the way, at In-N-Out Burger on Sunrise.
Everybody can see through the window.
Everybody. It's like a Sunday afternoon, and I was just going for a cruise up through the foothills, right? And we had just got there. What happened was a power steering line ruptured because I have Hydro Boost brakes on it. And so the lines on those are Teflon lined, and you got to be really careful when you put the fittings together, because you can tear the liner or score it, which apparently I did because it was a install error. There you go. I admitted it right here on the podcast. But anyway, so it just happened to rupture at that time and sprays a little bit of power steering fluid right on the header.
Yeah.
And
just ignites.
And then, of course, because I just got done putting it back together.
You didn't put your fire extinguisher
Didn't put
back
the fire
in
extinguisher
there.
back in. I look at
that.
the rack and the fire extinguisher holder's empty. And I'm freaked out. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to lose this thing. But I do have insurance on it. So, but I really didn't want to go through building this thing.
Though.
Oh,
God.
yeah. So I run into In-N-Out.
I could see that headline. Bronco burns down in Sunrise In-N-Out.
Probably this should have been my most scary wheeling story, huh? But because looking back, it kind of was. Yeah. So I go run. I tell my boys, get out of the vehicle, So they get out and it's sitting there and everybody's sitting there eating their burgers at the tables outside. They're kind of like backing away and they're watching. And I run in the restaurant and I'm screaming, where's your fire extinguisher? Not one fire extinguisher in the lobby, by the way. And that's not good for an insurance. So whoever their insurance company is should tell them that's a lost wreck. So I see one in the kitchen through the window. I'm pounding on their kitchen door.
Yeah.
Like, let me in, let me in. So this kid kind of like opens it reluctantly, which he probably shouldn't have done.
Because there's a lunatic banging on the door.
Let me in. I'm screaming. I had to have veins popping out of my head. Because I know it's burning out there in the parking lot. And it's, it's probably taken as long as it is for me to tell you the story. And so finally he opens it. I grab the fire extinguisher off the wall out of their kitchen. I go running out there and, of course, douse my nice engine with all that white powder.
Yeah.
But I saved it, and it was just a few melted hoses, melted wiring harness. And
did the fire department come rescue you?
Thank God.
Oh, you avoided that one.
I avoided that.
I'm surprised. I would have called while eating my fries.
Were scary.
Yeah, I got lucky, man. It happens fast. You lose everything.
It's fast.
It's important to always have a fire extinguisher in your vehicle. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd have two, technically.
Yeah, it's good to have two if you can, because they don't always function.
Yeah.
And you can,
or you might need more than one,
check
depending
those
how big the fire is.
expiration dates too.
Yeah,
they
That's
do
tough.
expire.
And you can, lose pressure or whatever in there, and go to grab and have nothing come out.
One is none,
before.
two is one.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to transition into featuring a new product that we have right now. So I was hoping Zach could talk a little bit about this Jeep XJ, TJ, LJ, ZJ, and MJ Dana 30 diff cover steering stabilizer relocation.
Don't you guys love that Mallory knows what all this stuff is?
It's a long one.
So besides being the ultimate tongue twister of something you'll never remember, it relocates your steering stabilizer way up out of harm's way. It's awesome. This mounts on a tie rod similar to like what we sell, which is 1.5 OD, or any other tie rod that has 1.5 OD. And if you got another clamp with a tap hole, you probably make it work there too, and just give us a call. We'll take the clamp out. And from there, it mounts onto the diff cover, which is nice because a lot of times they're mounted the opposite direction, and you start running a lot of clearance issues. So this is a great way to tuck it up high, keep you from having to do the classic, steering stabilizer hanging, an inch below your axle, just going to get caught on every single thing you ever touch. And it's one, you're getting a Ruffstuff diff cover. It's off the hook tough.
Which you can smash rocks with.
Yeah, even the tabs that are holding this in are 1/4 inch thick. I know you're thinking like, oh yeah, 1/4 inch thick to hold your steering stabilizer. It does make a difference because if you bash your tie rod hard enough, you could potentially peel those tabs off. You never know what you can do.
Clamp is what, like 1/2 inch
wall? Clamp is 1/2 inch wall.
Yeah,
it is pretty serious.
Yeah, the diff cover ring is a 1/2
total
inch.
OD of that is 2 inches.
Like that, It's Dana 30, so.
You'll bend the axle before you bend the diff cover.
And this one works with like a Bilstein Standards steering stabilizer, which I think we can get a pretty good deal on those that we can offer down. I think it's like $80 or so to add the steering stabilizer. You can add Lube blocker all in one go too, which is nice. Get a pretty badass package. You got your stabilizer, handle, done. You don't got to figure out some wacky way to mount it up, keeping it up out of harm's way, and you get an excellent cover. Which also has a lifetime warranty, which applies to this as well. You ever break it, you earn a new one.
So what is included in everything you get? Get the diff cover?
Yeah, you get the diff cover, which has the tabs pre-welded on, which, a lot of people think, I can weld my own tabs on. Awesome. Buy the tabs, weld them, learn to weld, do it. Add a skill to your list. If you can't, or you can't weld very good, Stuart, no.
Hey, I said I improved.
We got it all ready to go. So this comes with your clamp. It comes with all the necessary hardware, including washers, everything you need to make sure this thing ain't going anywhere. And yeah, if you have a different steering stabilizer, it also works fine. I believe, what is it, 1.5 or 1 inch gap on there? Don't remember quite off the top of my head. Anyway, it works with majority of common steering stabilizers, Fox, other brands, things like that. And it's simple and effective. And the big thing is tucking it up out of harm's way. A lot of people think like, why would you ever throw that kind of money at a Dana 30 axle? Kind of see what they're saying, but at the same time, people are throwing money at Dana 30 axles, and they're making Dana 30 axles kind of tough nowadays. And something that can handle a 35-inch tire. Where back in the day, you ran a big, heavy 35-inch mud terrain, you're blowing that axle apart. Well, now they got some really cost-effective kits, companies like RCV, Dutchman, other companies to really make these things tough. So a lot of guys that don't want to swap a front axle, because it is a lot more than swapping a rear at the end of the day. It's a big investment and it's a lot of work. This is a great way to, if you put money into Dana 30 and you're trying to hold out until a 1-ton swap or some massive catastrophic event that forces you to spend a bunch of money on the credit card, is a good way to kind of keep everything how you want it. Get your steering stabilizer in there, tuck it out of harm's way, and it's pretty cost effective. I think it's, if I remember correctly, $165 or so.
It retails for $165,
which is pretty square because the cover, I believe, is $110 alone. And it is not incredibly labor intensive for us, but it is a process and it has to be perfect. And these things ship out perfect without an issue.
Absolutely. The product number, if you want to look it up, is R2436-A, and you can save 10% off with code Ruffstuff Podcast. An old product I want to talk about that we've had for a while is our shock hoop. So I was hoping Garrett could tell us a little bit about this product and why it's tried and true.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty straightforward. Shock hoops, they're what they are, It's a piece of 1.5 DOM tubing that we bend up. And they come with, the shock tabs. And we really just make these for people that don't have a bender. If you have a bender, you can make your own. It's pretty straightforward. You can buy the tube from us or go to your local shop and buy them. But not everyone has a tube bender at their house. So they, for the dimensions and whatnot, you can look them up online. And what's the part number is R1771, and they're $75 for the pair. So you can do the front end or rear end, and they're not just a straight. A lot of people do I guess they make the bars parallel to each other. We changed the angle a little bit, so you can if you need. It's hard to even explain here.
A little bit of triangulation to it.
Yeah, it's a little bit wider stance, and so you can they just fit a little bit different than other shock hoops on the market.
So makes it easy to fit around a lot of OEM components too.
The other thing I wanted to add earlier when Zach was talking about the Stuart not welding good is if you do have like welding questions too, feel free to call the shop, the sales guys. They might be able to answer some stuff, but they can also put you in contact with our welding department, and they'll be happy to talk welding with you. They love to weld.
Super into it.
So yeah, definitely if you have any questions, give us a call.
Yeah, every guy in there now is sitting on a lot of certs and a lot of training, and the professional as well as like on the job vocational training as well.
Just general experience too, because like
passionate about it.
Not everyone, like when you're doing like shock hoops or like you've never done it before, you might not know the best way to do it or how you're going to attach that to your frame. Or if you actually don't want to buy like that kit that Zach was talking about, you want to weld it yourself because you just want to get some more experience. They'll tell you how to do it. Like there's no secrets here. Like, and we'll guide you in the right way. So
give you the tips and tricks to keep your stuff from warping out of spec, and be able to throw that stabilizer in, or throw that Heim on that if you're building your 3-link suspension up front or whatever.
Yeah, like we want you guys to be successful and not, if you're welding links together, not to mess up the threads and
feel confident.
Have to buy them again, Yeah,
also, if you guys are looking for install photos of that product and we don't have them online, give us a call or shoot us an email, because we have an arsenal of installed photos that we aren't able to get up. So if you want to see what it looks like, what it can look like, where it goes, how to use it, let us know. You can email the sales department at info@ruffstuffspecialties.com.
And I mean, in the past, I've even drawn things out for people on a piece of paper and sent them a picture, because sometimes it's hard to get a picture of something and even tell what it is.
Totally.
We're there to help.
Yeah. So a new product that we have in the works. I don't know. I actually didn't check with you guys how much you know about this, but Wyatt told me. It is the XJ front 3-link kit with the cross member. So it's the subframe stiffeners. It's got assorted brackets, links, and heims. And he said that we can expect to see it end of summer. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this has been kind of a long drawn out project, as kind of had to take priority on other projects, other products coming out that we kind of deemed more worth the time and effort. But this will be a really easy way to add a super stout, super flat, long linked 3-link setup for your front end of a Cherokee. And I believe it should be able to work with the Grand Cherokee, the ZJs. Not sure about the WJs, but it should work with the ZJs. Pretty similar. And yeah, ties into unibody frame stiffeners that we offer. Those will have some keyways to kind of make it a little easier to line things up. Or, you can just get the cross member individually and go from there. It's interesting, in fact, that the third link actually has a double bend in it to clear some of your motor stuff and your exhaust. And it's nice because you get really, really long, flat links. So
Wyatt kind of already did it on his, right? To where he has like 37s and like
37s on a low Cherokee.
Super
it's
low.
badass.
Yeah,
He
so
has
cool.
the coolest XJ I've ever seen.
And
I'm
he actually
excited
bought
to-
that for $300, if I remember correctly.
Well, when you're Wyatt, you can make anything super cool.
Yeah.
That's true. But yeah, it's gonna be a cool kit, and it'll come with the cross member. And if you're new to fabrication and you're just kind of, hey, I'm gonna wing it till I figure it out, this takes a lot of the winging out of it, but still allows for a lot of customization. If you're trying to run some massive coilovers in there or something, or if you're just trying to go all droop, no up travel, you can configure it to work with that as well. Be pretty
Totally.
cool. And we'll also have options to add in your pan hard, whatever you want to do. We'll make it easier. And of course, like any of our other kitted products, we kind of mark down the price when you buy a fair amount of things at once. We'll give you a square deal on it. So you'll get a little discounted price versus buying, each individual component, piecing it together. And just like any of the other Ruffstuff 3-link kits, it uses 2-inch by quarter wall DOM tubing. So you can beat the crap out of your links all day long, drag them on everything pretty long and flat and up high, so you won't hit them as much as your traditional, 60 degree downward angle a lot of people end up with on the shorter wheelbase Jeeps. But it's pretty cool, pretty sweet setup. It should be, like Mallory said, at end of summer most likely. You never know, summer's crazy, so might be a little bit after, might be a little earlier. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yeah. So our off-road tip of the week is never pull someone out in reverse. Wyatt said everything's typically weaker in reverse. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Stuart.
Stewster?
Well, not on my rig, it's not, but maybe on some of those Jeeps. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'd probably agree with that. It's, but sometimes you don't have a choice. You can't turn around on the trail, and your
Can't
winch
always
is on the
get the
front.
best case scenario.
And so, I think it'd be better to pull out going forward. Your reverse gear is usually pretty low, so that's kind of an advantage. But
I was gonna say that, but it probably has to do also with like ring and pinion, like it's because it's not cut that direction, right?
Right.
So it probably depends on the vehicle you're pulling
And the transmission you're
it's all
running,
case
too.
by case.
Think about like FJ80s, notorious for blowing front diffs when trying to jump out of something backwards, just from having an 8-inch compared to the rear 9.5, and just backing up hard. I know Wolf's popped a bunch of them in the past.
That's Wolf.
See,
So.
Wolf does wheel pretty hard.
He knows off throttle and on throttle, and that's about it.
Yeah,
So.
on-off switch is pretty good. But one thing, especially with that, is if you have a side-by-side like a Razor that is belt-driven, never do it. Especially, you're going to be fighting that belt. You're going to kill it. You're going to smoke a belt. Again, not a huge thing. You can swap them out in 10 minutes if you're not, if you're experienced.
an
or
extra one.
Yeah.
if you do have an extra one. But try to avoid that. And, even when I'm wheeling the Razor, if I'm just sitting idle waiting for people to go through something, I'll put it neutral, just so there's no stress on the belt, because they do get stressed and then they get fatigued, smoke out, or snap in some scenarios, which is crazy. And sometimes dealing with a bad belt is just unwinding so many strands out of your pulleys.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just hot. You burn your fingers.
And it sucks. Pain in the
We had
ass.
to change it on the Rubicon that time.
Yeah, that was my first time doing it, and it was a pain in the ass because I had no idea what I was doing. Luckily enough, they make it pretty easy, though, if you
it's
you
pretty
look and
straightforward.
pay attention instead of just try to dive in.
So we'll take that tip with a grain of salt. Lastly, we have a product review that I was hoping actually Stuart could read. I didn't prep this for you, but it's the
boy,
one
on
with
the
the
fly.
star. So
Funniest product review. The Ruffstuff hoodie. written by Greg Wallace out of Nevada. Excellent quality. Feels like it's lined with hamsters. It isn't, but it's damn cozy. Wish I'd ordered a size bigger. Shipped unbelievably fast. Thank you again. And I got a sticker. Nice.
Yeah, so we just want you to know
They
the
are warm and
interior of our hoodies are like fuzzy gerbils.
No gerbils were harmed in making this hoodie.
Correct.
They're all fake fur.
Yes, absolutely. PETA, don't come after us. So I think we're going to wrap it up, but we want to thank you guys for listening. And also we want to let you know you can email us with any suggestions, feedback, topics, guests, podcast@ruffstuffspecialties.com. Please let us know.
Yeah, hit us with some questions. We'd love to answer them.
Yeah, we can do a Q&A too. So thank you, Stuart, for coming out and hanging
You're
out
welcome.
with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Stu.
And to get a hold of Stuart too, was it pointwestins.com?
Yeah, or you can email me at s.nelson@pointwestins.com.
We will put your information up.
Yeah, and if you missed that, give us a call. Get you all the good contact info.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Later.